Christmas Eve. The room was lit with warm golden lights, laughter echoing off every wall, the scent of pine and cinnamon curling in the air. I sat at the table, hands folded, trying to smile. My siblings laughed, my father told a joke, and my mother, the woman who was supposed to guide me, to nurture me, looked at me like I didn't exist. And then she said it. "You're the most useless child we have." The words hit harder than the winter wind outside. Silence froze the room. My fork clattered against my plate. My heart pounded, but I forced my face to remain calm. Eyes stared at me, disbelief, shock, embarrassment. I could feel the weight of their judgment pressing against my chest, suffocating, heavy, like I had just been declared a criminal in front of the only people I thought I belonged to. I wanted to speak, to yell, to defend myself, but I didn't, because I had learned long ago that words thrown in anger are like arrows in the dark. They hit without precision, leaving wounds you can't control. Instead, I let the room hang in the frozen moment. Let them see what their words had done. My mother continued, unaware that each syllable she released built a map of humiliation, etched into my memory. She leaned back in her chair, smug, satisfied, while the family shifted uncomfortably around us. No one dared interrupt. The moment belonged to her. Or so she thought. I looked at my father. He avoided my eyes. My siblings stared at their plates, silent. The truth was clear. I was alone in a house filled with people who should have known better. And in that silence I began to plan. Not revenge yet. Not confrontation. Just the quiet, careful calculation of someone who had learned the hardest lesson. Those who underestimate you leave themselves vulnerable. After dinner, I excused myself, stepping into the cold night, letting the brisk December air clear the fog in my mind. Every word she had spoken played on repeat, sharp and precise, cutting deeper than any blade. Useless, the word bounced in my head, echoing against walls I had built carefully around my pride. I wasn't useless. Not then, not ever. But proving it wouldn't be about arguing. It would be about action, about the quiet reclamation of respect they had stripped from me in front of everyone. I returned later, pretending everything was normal. I smiled politely, laughed when my mother cracked another forced joke, nodded at the gifts being exchanged. They didn't notice the calm that had replaced the storm in my chest. They thought I had been broken. They thought their words had won. But while they celebrated, I was collecting evidence. Not of lies, not of secrets, but of patterns. Patterns of how she controlled, belittled, and diminished me in private and in public. Patterns that I would one day expose, not with fury, but with the silent weight of truth. Days passed. I observed, listened, and recorded. Small actions, moments she assumed I didn't notice. The way she compared me subtly to my siblings, the way she ensured I felt invisible in gatherings, even the tiny gestures of scorn that made me flinch. Every word, every glance became a thread in a tapestry that only I could see. And somewhere, in that quiet observation, I found clarity. Her control wasn't absolute. It had cracks, weaknesses. The arrogance she wore like armor left her blind to the consequences that patience and strategy could bring. When the next family gathering came, I was ready. Not with confrontation, not with a scene, but with the subtle orchestration of respect reclaimed. I would not wait for an apology. I would ensure they understood it through the undeniable weight of my actions, my presence, and my choices. The next Christmas the table looked the same. Lights glowed, laughter filled the room, but I walked in differently. Calm, composed, confident. My mother's eyes flicked toward me, searching for weakness. She found none. The words she had thrown like daggers last year had lost their power. I spoke little, but when I did, it carried weight. Every choice, every glance, every subtle assertion reminded them who I was. No longer the useless child, no longer invisible. My siblings noticed, quietly impressed. My father finally met my gaze, respect dawning slowly. And my mother, she realized the truth too late. Control wasn't won by cruelty or insults, it was earned or in my case reclaimed. That evening, as the family celebrated around me, I finally understood something profound. Silence, observation, patience. These are sharper than anger, more powerful than shouting. They thought they had defined me. But I had rewritten the story in the quietest, most undeniable way possible. And in that silence, I found not just victory but peace.